Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. And I invite you into this moment by taking a nice, deep, cleansing breath, breathing in the cool light that is today. And as you breathe out everything from the past, breathe out everything from the future. Allow yourself just to be present in this moment. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take another nice, deep, cleansing breath, filling your lungs with oxygen. And as you breathe out all that no longer serves you, allowing your body to just relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good in your life.
Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
Good morning. If you notice extra hugging and a little bit of weeping going on today, it's because we're letting down our defenses. Because we had a memorial service here yesterday that was quite powerful, and this group over here and their cohort, some of whom are spread around the room, staged it, did the music, did the prep, did everything. And I can't thank you enough. And Ruth and Carthel's families cannot thank you enough for all of the effort that you put in. But what I know is now that the families are not in the room, and it's a Sunday, and in a procession of Sundays on into infinity, we let down our guard a little. And we sing a song that yesterday we were singing to a group of people, and we had to be strong for it. And today we're singing it to each other, and we don't have to be strong. So I thank you and I honor you for what you've done. As far as everybody else here, no, you're awesome too. This is a series on change, and it also on personal responsibility and where personal responsibility begins and ends. So it's going to come together in my head, I'm sure, on the way out to you, how all of this is going to work. But I got a meme. Life is not reducible to memes. You know this, right? Previous to memes, we had slogans, and it wasn't reducible to them either. Change your thinking, change your life is negotiable. It's nuanced, you know. This meme that I saw that had a lot of likes to it, and please don't find it because I don't want to share this because I didn't like it, see, because I know y'all too, and you'll find it and it'll be up, you know. But yeah, I want to get my hands around its little meme-like neck because it really bothered me so much that, you know what I did? I stamped my foot and I sat down and I started writing an article. That's what I did. You get me head up, I'll write an article.
Oh, yes.
It said, and I can't quote it because it went by kind of fast before Facebook banned me for life or did whatever it did. It disappeared. But it said words to the effect of, if somebody else has a problem with you, it's their problem and not your problem. And everybody signed up and loved that. That sounds just great. Okay, this is totally not logical. It's totally not the whole story. What it's saying, sometimes people have a problem with us, and they're entitled to, okay, because we messed up. We got to take responsibility here. If I steal your hat and then I blame you for having a low consciousness for not having a hat on your head, what kind of metaphysics is that, see? How did you create this in your life? How did you create this? Sometimes you created this in your life because I created it for you by coming in and disturbing your life. And if no one takes responsibility, see, we're not just responsible for our reactions. They're a big part of it, and they're a part we don't often look. But we're also responsible for our actions. Because sometimes we say and do the wrong thing. Sometimes we say and do the wrong thing kind of obliviously and not meaning to, and, you know, we're better people than that and all the rest of this. And sometimes we go out of our way to say and do the wrong thing, to get our way. It's like if you say, well, here's another one that was popular for years in the business world, sales particularly. Never take no for an answer. Okay? That's toxic, isn't it? Right? You know whose no you want to have be taken for an answer? Your own.
Yes.
Your own. So what it's saying is, all right, if you're trying to sell the client a hat, I'm into hats today. You're trying to sell the client a hat and they're not sure about the hat, you know, well, there are tricks you can use. I actually took a sales course one time, and one of the tricks is, it's called at the close of the sale. It says the first, you've heard this, the first one to speak loses. So you push the contract and the pen across the table, you know, and you say, so if you just you never say sign, just say autograph this, or just you know, make your mark here, something to that effect, and then you don't say another word. And see, what this does is it amps up the psychological pressure. Beads of sweat start to appear on the prospect's forehead. They don't want to let you down. You've gone this far with them. You've patiently explained the whole process, you know, this sort of stuff. Well, it's hugely manipulative. But it's also contained within a very narrow space of trade. But in the big picture, when people say no, they mean no. When people say yes, they mean yes. And if we assume they mean other than that, we're psychoanalyzing them, A, without their permission, and B, without any evidence whatsoever, you know, beyond our own wishes. So we've got to look at this. It's like, let me put it another way, see if this makes any sense to you. It's when I came into this teaching, there was a great emphasis placed on what's called demonstration. That is to say, you treat, you pray positively, you visualize, you affirm, you do all this, and you manifest or you demonstrate, you show forth some response. You get the job, you inherit the money, whatever. There's something comes about. You find good luck, you know. What there was not an emphasis on was that we are the demonstration to everybody we encounter. Okay? They're manifesting through us some byproduct of consciousness. They're getting something from us. If I set out of the house one day in a bad mood and I cross your path, you know, on some level that's about the both of us, but I'm responsible for my part of that. And if I want to mirror a world that works for everyone and not just me, then I have a responsibility to do deeper work, harder work, than if I'm just receiving, than if I'm just reactive to everything that's going on. And folks, in this teaching, we have signed up for some deep work. We've signed up. I was telling the group yesterday in the little eulogy I did for Ruth Catalona, who is the practitioner, our beloved who passed. I said, among other things, everybody added something. So, she's a great cook. She's this, you know, everybody had a piece of the puzzle, and it kind of depended on where you came in the sequence, you know, what was left to you. I saw people scratching stuff out, you know, well, that's been covered. Don't want to go over that again. But one of the things I brought up is she was a fierce worker for social justice, and she and Bishop Myoke Shonin created a workshop here that they offered on two different, well, it was a class, actually. It's an ongoing thing, and they offered it 2 different times, once before the pandemic and once actually during the pandemic on Zoom. The first one was here in person. It's called Am I a Racist? Am I a Racist? And that's, as I said yesterday, that's not a title of a class that's going to, you know, people are going to drop everything to necessarily take, unless they're willing to do the hard work. Because they're already going to have an answer to it. Either yes, I am, and I'm comfortable with that, or no, I'm not, I don't need the class. Because I'm way more evolved than this. But the question was put, the class was not titled, you are a racist, okay, and you need this. And the class was not titled, "You're entirely off the hook for absolutely everything, and you don't need this, but come anyway, we'll have cupcakes or something." No, it was, the question was put, am I? And that's not a question that will leave you alone. Am I right? I don't know. Am I? What are my preconceived assumptions about people who don't look like me? What stories have I bought into? How am I perpetuating myths and so on? That's powerful, deep work. And they got people to come to those classes who are willing to do that powerful, deep work. I submit to you that you're willing to do deep and powerful work. Maybe it's about racism, maybe it's about a lot of different things. But it's absolutely about what's your position in the universe. And last Sunday I talked about how there's a universal containment system called the one mind, and we're all part of it, okay? There's one love. There's one power, and that power is love. It's unconditional love, and we're all part of it. And so any change that occurs within the context of that one containment system. So it's not utter absolute change like it's coming from left field. No, it's inside that one system. And today is really about the fact that that system, that love, that unconditional love, functions as harmony. It functions as harmony. You just heard some beautiful harmony. You'll hear some more in a minute with two voices. Yesterday we had many voices in harmony. The whole world breaks out in song. Everybody has a voice. Some people have stronger voices than others. Some people have more trained voices than others. But they all fit together in harmony. Well, that's how the whole system works. And so if you want a hat, somebody has it. Somebody's busy right now making hats, one of which will fit your head and look good on you. Okay? Whatever it is you want out of this life, it's out there for you, if you're willing to pay the price, and not just the price in coin, not just the price in materiality or commercial exchange, but pay the price in consciousness. Am I being silly here? But am I willing to be a hat wearer? I know one hat wearer is in the room this morning. I almost sat on his hat yesterday. Do I want to be a hat wearer? What does wearing a hat do for me? Who does it kind of put me in with? The other hat wearers. Do I like what the other hat wearers are up to? You see where I'm going with this? My mother, who I talk about from time to time, and it's Valentine's Day, and it's, sweet to think about your mom on Valentine's Day. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer. She wasn't wild about the idea. She passed 95, so I'd been doing this for a while, what I'm doing here, ministry and stuff. And she wasn't wild about the fact that I was a minister. And when I tell people that, which I don't a lot, except now I am, people would be like, "Oh, she didn't like your religion because you're in one of those wild New Age religions." No, that had nothing to do with it. She didn't want me to be a minister because she thought organized religion was a racket. But here's the irony: she wanted me to be a lawyer. No, I'm sorry. That's not right. That's not right. No, she wanted me to be a lawyer for the people. She wanted not a greedy corporate lawyer. She wanted me to do something like a civil rights attorney, or an environmental attorney, or somebody who's working for justice. And I respect that. I respect that a lot, But had I gone in that direction, I would have had to think, okay, so how do I fit in the world of attorneydom, Because, see, here's the thing. Every group has a consciousness. Every group has a vibe to it. That's the informal term. And when you add or subtract a sentient being from that group, the consciousness changes a little. Some people are very sensitive to this. They're empathic to it, and they'll feel it change. Somebody gets up and leaves the room, and like the ionization of the air changes. Most of us are not that clued into it. We may feel something different, but we can't really identify what it is, But every group has this consciousness. And the first thing we learn in metaphysics is that this is so, and how to respond to this. And the second thing that we learn in metaphysics is how to change this, is how to adapt this, okay? How am I going to move this? I learned something interesting this week, which is that Mahatma Gandhi never said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Did you know that? It's a wonderful saying, and somebody said it, but it wasn't him. He said things around it, and he said things less concisely than that. He said something about the world is your mirror. Where have we heard that before? The world is our mirror. The world is also our window, because if the world is only our mirror, nothing changes. But if the world is our window, and we can look out the window at the scenery, and say, I want to go there, then there's progress, then there's forward movement. So we learn in this teaching to cause changes to happen through the movement first, but not only, of consciousness. First, but not only of consciousness. And this, I feel, is something that gets overlooked in the teaching, to move things along and summarize it and cliff notes it and all like we do, because volumes have been written about this. But it's like, well, then all I have to do is treat. All I have to do is pray. All I have to do is affirm. No, that is not true. That's just the first thing you do. And then you take action. Okay? Somebody says, well, I want a new job. All right, picture what you want to do. Picture yourself doing it. Picture yourself rewarded for doing it. Picture yourself doing it with other people that you get along with and feeling like you make a difference and so on and so forth. But at some point after you pictured all this stuff, you're going to have to bat out a resume. And you're going to have to send it out to some people, or you're going to have to make some phone calls, or at least, okay, here's the really cool part, at least you're going to have to be willing to. Now, I read a little book years ago called The Ultimate Secret, which they'll find for you. And I'm going to spoil the book for you. It's well worth reading. It's a little teeny book. It's a booklet, really. But I'm going to spoil the ending for you because it's, well, I just am. And because you can't give somebody a book like that and they don't go to the last page. Who doesn't do that, right? The Ultimate Secret, blah, 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 blah. Right? Yada, yada, yada. Oh, here it is. Here's the ultimate secret to getting absolutely everything you want. Be willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Be willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And to the degree that to elaborate on that point, to the degree that you're not willing to do whatever it takes to get it, to that degree you limit the possibility of your having it. But here's the good news. Because all of a sudden you've just been handed a shovel and a bottomless pit to fill kind of thing, right? When you hear that, be willing to do whatever it takes. God, your shoulders just sag, Here's the cool part. If you're willing to do whatever it takes to have absolutely everything you want, you won't have to do everything it takes to have absolutely everything you want. Because the key is not the doing of it in that respect, it's the willingness. It's the willingness to do it. And when you're willing, shortcuts appear. When you're willing, people come out of nowhere with answers for you, with material supply for you, with guidance for you, with collaboration, and so on. And stories are, I was talking with Michael here beforehand, there's a history class that we're doing for the School of Ministry, right? We're right in the middle of it. Part 2's coming up in a few weeks here, And there's a story that one story I told already, and more that I have for them in the second weekend, about how take an individual who's a spiritual seeker. They read, maybe they write, maybe they speak, they have a little class going on, they have a little group they work with, and they decide to take a trip to another city for some reason, connected or unconnected to their work. On the train, boat, plane, horse-drawn wagon, whatever it is they're using to get there, they meet somebody who's doing the same work or the next iteration of the work or has some vital piece of information for them about the work. And these are people that we've heard of. These are people who created work in the world that if I told you who they are, you'd go, oh yeah, I've heard of that person. Well, they were laboring in this direction for a while until they met this individual over here, and that took them in a whole new, like they sit down, there's one story, I'll get into the details of this another time, but there's one story of a woman in Rome, I think it was, who decided, walking through Rome, decided she was thirsty or hungry or something, sat down at a sidewalk cafe, had to share a table with another woman, and a collaboration was born that exists to this day in the world of education. Okay? How does this occur? But for there being a universal harmony. It says, oh, you're vibrating at a certain level. Let's put you together with this person over here. And you vibrate together and you create this great thing. So the takeaway for this is to realize that you create a vibration in yourself based on your desires, your intentions, and so on. And the universe causes you to navigate in such a way as to encounter others who will support your vision. It doesn't mean you have to marry them. It doesn't mean you have to go into business with them. It doesn't mean you have to subsume your dream under what they're doing. It may be just a passing acquaintance that you have where you pick up some information, but you take it and you run with it and you facilitate change in the world. And this is how change occurs. Now, Frederick Douglass, who's among the many that we honor this month during Black History Month, said all progress comes from struggle. Now, I grant you, doesn't that sound like a meme? Or maybe a slogan, all progress comes from struggle? Let's write that one down. You can think, well, I've had progress in my life that didn't involve struggle, or did it? See, by struggle, he meant in his time, he was talking about the struggle against enslavement. He was talking about the struggle against oppression, discrimination of an order that was staggering, really. But I struggle, you struggle, with our perceptions of how things are, our perceptions of how things used to be. You know, kids today have no respect for their elders. And $1 won't buy what it used to. And back in the day, things were better. You know how often that's been said? Since the dawn of time. Okay, in ancient wherever they were saying kids today have no respect. You know, look at how short their togas are, or something. They were saying in Jesus' time they were saying a shekel. Last year this was a shekel. This year it's 2 shekels. This is outrageous. You know, there's always been a complaint thread. There's always been the dissatisfied customer, if you will, that's saying this isn't acceptable. This isn't how it used to be. Everybody looks back, and the older you get, you look back and you say, oh, you know, in my day, things were so. My particular generation right now is romancing the 1970s, okay? When I graduated high school in the 1970s, and in the 70s, you could do this, and you could get away with that. Nobody made you wear a helmet, you know, on a bicycle, and we ate raw meat off the floor, and all of this kind of crazy stuff, and you could stay out till dawn, and nobody'd hassle you and all this. Okay, I was there. Some of you were too. The 70s had a lot of anxiety. They actually had a lot more anxiety for people who don't look like me than they had for people who do look like me in the 1970s. But even for people who look like me, it was an anxious time, and so were the 80s, and the 90s had things going on. And every age and every time has had its own perils and its own troubles. And the reason we look back in this kind of fuzzy, kind of rose-colored thing that we do is to avoid looking at the work we should be doing today, right now and right here, and say, well, and this I think is what keeps us young in spirit, is when we say, with the breath that I have in the body that I wear today, I will do the next right thing. I will do the next right thing. I will try to take better care of other people. The other day I was driving, this wasn't when I ran into Michael yesterday, that was another story, but the other day I was driving on a 3-lane, not freeway, but a 3-lane boulevard-looking thing, and I'm in the right lane, and in the middle lane is this little car, and it's got its left turn signal on. There's no streets anywhere nearby, you know. It's got its left turn signal on, and it's going kind of slow and wobbly. And so the people in the left lane slowed down, thinking this individual was going to move into their lane, right? Presently, the signal got turned off, and now the right signal went on. And so me and the people in my lane all kind of slowed down to let this person. eventually they turned their signal off and they kept going straight, and I don't know where they wound up, but here's the thing. Nobody honked, nobody gestured, nobody called them a fool. Everybody was like, that could be me, or that could be my grandmother on the way to market, who's a little confused as to where to turn, and so she's, so that could be a really old person behind the wheel of that car. Or that could be a really young person behind the wheel of that car who's just learning how to drive. Or it could be somebody from out of town, or it could be 1,000 different things, and we'll never know, but what it isn't is the enemy. What it isn't is, some foolish person who ought to be mocked and ridiculed and honked at and startled and all the rest of this because, why? What if that were me? What if that were me? And that's really what it comes, it could be my grandma or this or that, but what it really comes down to is what if that were me? Maybe somebody's having a medical problem. Who knows? What if that were me? I wouldn't want people jumping up and down at me. And that is the beginning of compassion. One last story for you on this, because this is about change. Here's another meme, and this one I buy, is look change right in the face and say, bring it, because it's going to anyway.
Yeah.
It just is. Sun goes up, sun comes up, sun goes down, earth turns around, the whole thing keeps moving along, whether or not we're offended by that or pleased by that or whatever. So just bring it, and I'll be okay. And how I know I'll be okay is I got you, and we link hands together. We've got our friends and our family and everybody that we count on, and we got our faith. We got our faith. Ours is a simple faith, but we've got our faith that there is one containment system called love, in which we live and move and have our being. And now I forget the last story I was going to tell you, but it really doesn't matter, because I think that's probably enough for one day. Let the change happen. Let it be what it is. Roll with it. Ask for help when you need it. If you're upset by it and it comes out your face, there are paper products to help, but basically let it come out your face, because that's good. Hildegard of Bingen called tears the aroma of holy work. The aroma of holy work. And that was 700 years ago. She said that 800 years ago. Let it be what it is. Let it flow the way that it does, this change. And just trust and just know there's one life, and that life is spirit, and that life is all the life there is. And that life is my life right now. Not because of anything I've done, but because of everything I am. There being one life, I must be of that life. And furthermore, I'm privileged to know that I am. My mind can accept this idea. My emotions can embrace this idea that I am one with this life. And everyone else is one with it too. What I'm not privileged to know is what every other person thinks or feels, what their interior process is. Even if they tell me I'm hearing it through my own perceptive filters, even if they show me I'm interpreting it in some way, so I give them space. I let them change lanes without interference, certainly without hostility. I let people be who they are. Now, I have my lane, I have my boundaries, I have my no. But my default to life is yes. Yes, I accept it. Yes, I'm willing. I'm willing to learn and grow, and maybe more than anything else, I'm willing to be mistaken. Willing to be mistaken. Because that makes me teachable. And that's what the great teacher meant by meek. Not mild, not subservient, but teachable. So I learn. And I prize that learning. And I enable others to learn in my space. I am the light by which others can see, just as our beloved Ruth was, and she was memorialized in this way. She was like a desk lamp. And she illuminated whatever you were studying, whatever you were pondering or writing or thinking about. She was that light unto the world. I choose to be so also. Thank you, infinite presence of life. Mother, Father, God, for this glorious day and this sweet time together and all that is yet to come. And so it is.
So it is. And thank you all for being here again. We love you. We appreciate you. We love your energy. We love your wisdom. We love your spirit. And we also love your monetary donations. Those are great too. So thank you for those. Thank you for supporting us. If it was not for you, yeah, ba-dum-bum. I'll just throw that in there. If it was not for you, we would not and could not be here. And so as our beautiful little ushers make their way to collect those lovely monetary donations, I invite you all to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
There's been a whole lot going on in here, in the world, and here that is sad. So I ask you, if you have not been paying attention to the news at all, to hold the people of Turkey and Serbia in your hearts. There was a devastating earthquake, and the entire world is scrambling resources to get over there as we speak. So, but what we can do now, which is the first part, is to treat. And then we will go and move our feet in whatever action is ours to do. And that is always a good question to ask yourself. We can always treat. And then the next question is, and then what action is mine to take? So there are all of the organizations that do rescue are probably looking for donations now. It's just a suggestion. So I would invite you into that sacred space of love, of knowing that there is one power, there is one presence, there is one life, there is one love. And as I live that life and recognize that presence individualized in myself, and understand that I am a divine channel for that love and that power, so too do I know that about each and every one of you. Indeed, all beings, all sentient, all living, all conscious. We are how love enters into this world. We are literally God in action. We are spirit in motion. And as I know this, so too do I know that the people of Turkey, the people of Serbia, the people everywhere in this world who have been touched by a tragedy or just a simple grief are held in that love. They are held in the arms of peace, in the divine arms of peace. And they are held in the human arms of love. As the resources move and change and move towards them, I am knowing ease of transport, ease of movement, ease of getting where it needs to go. And that when they get there, it is more than enough. And so too with small and simple griefs. That is held in the arms of divine love. Those people that it touches are held in the divine love. But that there are human arms to hold them as well. And the resources that they need are rising to meet them also. And I relax into this knowing that it is done. And I know this with all of the gratitude of my being. And I'm grateful for a place that teaches this teaching. I'm grateful for a teaching that teaches me who I am and who I can be. And I'm grateful for our ministers, our musicians, their technology, the Warm Strong building. And I'm just grateful to be grateful. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And I relax, release, and know that it is so. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
Choose it.
I choose it.